Welcome to another Music Monday. I'm your host, Adam Duke. Today, I'm at Quiet Country Audio, speaking with Fernway.
My name is RJ, and I sing and play guitar.
My name is Tanner. I am the drummer.
And we play in a band called Fernway. And there's 3 other guys that can't make it. We have Brett, and he plays the lead guitar. We have Jonah. He plays guitar as well. He does like guitar soundscapes and rhythm guitar and stuff like that. And we have our bass player, Alec. So, yeah. Yeah, so pretty much Tanner and I are brothers. So literally we lived in the same house.
Just 5 feet away from each other.
Literally
for 20 years.
Yeah, literally shared a room growing up. So we always played music kind of growing up. And I think the earliest one of the group that we met was probably Jonah. I think we met him in like 2012. So if that puts that into perspective, we've known him for a super long time. And we were all, like us 3, me, Tanner, and Jonah, we were in a band together way back in the day. And it's like funny how we all kind of met though, because we know Brett because like Jonah and our old bass player, Tommy, went to school with Brett and had a class with Brett. And they were like, hey, it'd be cool to jam with this kid. So he started coming over and hanging out and jamming. And we all kind of met Alec from Villa.
Villa playing around, yeah.
Yeah, he was like Tanner's jazz professor in college. But he's like, the age gap is like not that far off. So it was like.
No, he's about 2 years older than you?
If that.
Yeah.
So. I think it comes from a German word, and it was spelled Fernweh, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And
Fernway or something.
Fernway.
Actually,
Fernway.
But yeah, it's really different sounding, and if you actually know how to speak German.
Well, we almost spelled it that way, but we were like, man, like, I just feel like it would be harder to find like on the internet. So we just like made it easy. It's spelled exactly how you would think it would be spelled, and it roughly translates to like wanderlust or like an ache for distant places. So that was the name of our first EP, and that was kind of, you know, just like it made sense. That was right when we were kind of doing that record, and we found that name, and we were like, oh, this rocks. We actually, I think we hated it at first.
I didn't like it. I was like,
none of us liked it.
Adamantly against it.
None of us liked it.
The longest time. But
and then it just like, it kept just like, we were like, Fernway. Nah.
I don't think everybody hated it. I think Jonah and Brett were very like dead. Like when they heard it, they were dead set on it being that's it. For
nah, none of us liked it. Literally, none of us liked it. And then
you all were like very. You were like basically telling me at one point it was it when I was like, no, I don't think so.
Well, at that point we were like we haven't thought of anything better. I mean I gotta be honest, I like it now. I think it's like it's easy to say, it's easy to spell, like
yeah.
You know,
it's
I mean,
not complicated. It's easy to design things for. It's easy to fit on things.
Yeah, it just is what it is. And honestly, like, yeah, it's an exciting kind of name to
get to be asked if we're called Fenway after the ballpark.
Yeah, that is the only.
We're not in Buffalo. Oh, Fenway.
Yeah, Fenway, yeah.
You guys big baseball fans? No.
I've gotten firmware once, and I was like, nope.
That's another one I've heard.
Firmware? No.
So we definitely got a lot of suggestions if we ever want to change it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
We have a space that we like rehearse at, and it's a little bit smaller than this space, but we still have like I have a lot of gear there, so I'm able to record. And for this last record, it was kind of born like right in March of 2020, so like it was kind of our COVID project. So basically, like, you know, world shuts down. I'm not an essential worker. I'm an audio production personnel. So it's like I had a lot of free time on my hands, and you know, I basically had no sessions. All my sessions were canceled. So I spent that time kind of just like in the studio space, just writing, and you know, like demos kind of turned into more fleshed out ideas, turned into songs. And you know, I think we came out of 2020 with like 6 or 7 songs, like pretty much like written and ready to go.
Ready to be done, yeah.
And it was actually, the album was going to be an EP, but we we were like, man, it's like we had 6 or 7 songs. We were like, we're so close. Like just a couple more songs. Like if we can just kind of like find something to round out this like batch of music, like it could be, you know, it could be like a record. And that was when the mindset kind of shifted. It was like somewhere in, I would say 2021, like I'd say early 2021, we were like, you know, because what happened is like still like the world was still shut down, so I just like we were just like
Everything
doing a
kind of got delayed unintentionally.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to release anything or push anything and sell anything when nobody can go anywhere or do anything. So we were just like, well, we got another 6 months, it looks like. So.
And we had so much time to write. So it was like, okay, like we still can't really tour yet. All right, well I wrote another 3 songs. So it's like, okay, like we have these songs, and it's like, all right, it just felt right to put out something that was a little bit bigger than an EP. You know, and
yeah, I mean, we had done an EP previously, and that
2
was
EPs.
Yeah, even the one before that was like when COVID shut everything down. So we went from like planning something small, ready to release it, and then we couldn't. So we didn't really want to do something small again for when everything was coming back. We kind of wanted to just be like, you know, we didn't get the chance the last time, so let's do this one right, and let's make it what we can make it in the time we have.
We did a tour in July, and it started off with some bad luck, but it's like literally a crazy story. So we had I think it was a 14-day run, like 2 weeks. On the first day, driving to
It was supposed to be Brooklyn.
to Brooklyn, yeah, we were driving to Brooklyn. We were about 6.5 hours into the drive, and our van check engine light is just blinking, blinking, blinking. So we're like, all right, our hearts are kind of sinking. We're like, all right, let's figure this out. We pull into an auto zone. Our bass player, Alec, is frantically pulling parts out of the engine, and he's covered in grease, looking like a mechanic. And it's like, okay. So he's like trying to fix it, and we're all stressed out. He thinks he's got it. So we get back in the van. We take it for a lap. The light goes off, and it comes back on again, and it's blinking, blinking, blinking. And then we're like, okay, well, what do we do? Because this is the first day of a tour. Like, we have a show that at this point we weren't going to make because we were a couple hours out, and it was like 6-ish p.m. and it just wasn't a good idea to drive a broke down van
Into the city.
into New York City and get stuck with a trailer, and who knows what would have happened.
I think we found a place to stay.
Well, we split.
I flew home.
I took an Uber an hour and a half or 2 hours from like somewhere in New Jersey into the city, into New York City, and I like flew home to Buffalo to get my car, to get my SUV rather, which could tow our trailer with our gear in it.
That or my truck, which spending 2 weeks in a truck is not going to be.
So I literally flew home, drove my SUV 7 hours to pick you guys up in New Jersey.
Drive 5 more hours.
Just to like So it was crazy. And then my car broke down that tour too. We needed a new alternator, which prevented us from getting to another show later on in the tour. But that was like way less catastrophic. Like, fortunately, like a super good.
Luckily, it was an easier fix because we got lucky and the place had a part that we needed.
Well, what was that? I can't remember the mechanic's name, but I will say we were in Suffolk, Virginia, and I will tell you that this mechanic shop, man, they hooked us up so hard. Like, the mechanic shop took our vehicle in, and we rolled up as they were closing, so they weren't gonna like work on it that night. But man, they put us at like the front of the line the next morning, and one of the patrons of the mechanic shop, like he was an older guy, like heard our situation, like that we were like broke down, couldn't make it to a show. And didn't know anybody in the area because we weren't playing in Virginia. We were on our way to North Carolina, so we were still a couple hours away. And the dude was literally like, he like called the Super 8 down the road and like booked us motel rooms and was like, all right, yeah, like get in my car. I'm taking you to the Super 8 that's right here, and we're gonna check you guys in. And he checked us into the motel, and it was honestly like, it's crazy, man, because people don't have to be that generous. Like, people don't, they could have been like, yeah, man, there's nothing we could do. We're backed up 2 weeks. Like, go figure it out, but like
most of the places we called were like that.
Yeah.
You could tell that like, when you need it done quick, it's going to be expensive, blah, blah, blah. And this place definitely came to the forefront and really helped us get back on and get everything finished.
I find it mad hard to not be like thinking about the next thing or like just focused on something. So as of like the back half of 2022 and going into 2023, I've personally been focusing on writing as many songs as I possibly can. We have a demo folder. I would say there's got to be 15 songs in there. It feels like we've just hit this moment and this stride of just like we're just writing, right? And when I say 15 songs, I don't mean like fully recorded songs. I mean like, you know, some of them.
10 of them will probably be used. The other 10 might sit there for a little longer and eventually be used. But
some of them are done. Like some of them are done being written. They just need the actual like production and to actually be recorded, and they need the tender love and care. But others, you know, there's a few that are just simple loop ideas or simple kind of motifs. But I would say as far as actual complete songs, man, it's close to like 9 or 10 like complete songs that are pretty much ready to be like, well, yeah, I say pretty much ready. They're pretty much ready to be fleshed out in the studio, but
to actually be like done, I guess.
Yeah.
To start the process of finishing them.
Yeah, but I think honestly, man, like our vibe is kind of like, you know, we want to play some shows. We want to go on tour this year, so we're trying to. The goal we've set this year is 100 out-of-town shows. So we're trying to, that would be the most that we've ever done. So that's the goal that we're trying to hit. It's going to be challenging because booking out-of-town shows is always hard. But if we're able to be on tour and play out of state and out of town, we're trying to do that. If we're not doing that, then I would say the plan is always to continue to write, because simply having access to this studio and our practice space that's also a studio, it's you know, we have kind of an advantage, you know, having that environment at our disposal pretty much always. So it just makes sense to use it to our advantage and always be recording ideas and writing. But also, you know, I think also that's what happens after you release a record, man. You work so hard on like writing and recording the record, and then there's the grind of like rolling out the release and like getting all the merch printed in the actual like the vinyls and the CDs or however you're doing it, the distribution and all that like logistical stuff, that by the time the record comes out, you're like, oh man, I've got more songs that I'm trying to
on to the next one.
Yeah, it's a crazy it's a fast-paced industry, but I mean, like I said, the cool thing is like I feel like we like just being in the studio so much, like we're able to kind of push the boundaries of the sound, and it's cool, man. We've just been writing, and we're trying to tour, and we'll probably have a new record out at some point. You know, I'm not gonna put like a total deadline on it, but like, man, it could happen. It could honestly, like, I wouldn't say this year, but like
the next 2.5. I know your timeline pretty well. I know I am done the first week we start doing stuff as far as drums go, so I know how long it takes them to do everything else. And from when I finish my last drum part, it usually takes them about a year and a half. So within the next 2.5 years, I could see something else coming out.
Nah, I think the production
probably quicker than that, but
yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm definitely trying to release music in 2023. I feel like just the way the music industry is structured nowadays, like bands used to be able to take
singles come out every other month.
Oh yeah,
they don't worry about dropping full albums they reveal the whole album and they drop it again.
Well, you used to be able to, you know, bands, you know, you could take 2-3 years to like go and write your record, and like you come back with your 10 songs, and people, you know, that would hold people over for 3 years, you know. But like nowadays it's like there's so much, and everybody like everybody has an interface and a microphone, and everybody's got Logic or Pro Tools or something, and they're recording, and you know, to clarify, I think that's fantastic, because like, man, I wouldn't, like, there would be no Fernway music if that stuff wasn't so accessible, because
it wouldn't work.
Right, that's literally my job. I'm not in multi-million-dollar facilities. I'm in like you know,
started in a basement.
Yeah, you know, started in a basement and learned how to do this in a basement. I can't say the whole record will be out this year, but definitely some songs. Like,
yeah, I mean,
definitely some songs.
Probably every 3 months a song. That's why I think that's what we were been at before. So I would say every 3 to 4 months a song,
Yeah.
if not 2 songs.
I mean, it's really hard to produce your own music and like, you know what I mean? Like sell, like totally, I mean, you're making decisions. Whereas when you're producing other people's music, right, and somebody's presenting something to you and they're like, what do you think about this, right? Like you're asking yourself those questions.
You're the person that can tell yourself yes and no at the same time.
Right, so that's really the challenge, you know? Oh man, I don't play favorites. Honestly, I do have to say, like, every single person that has ever taken a chance working with me, because that's really what it is when you're working in an artistic field like this. You know, we're creating something that doesn't exist yet. Like a musician or a band or an artist, they come into the studio or they're inquiring about studio time, and we're talking about making something that doesn't even exist yet. It's just an idea, right? And that takes so much trust and so much faith. And it really is, I'm just like, I'm having a hard time putting it into words, like how grateful I am. I mean, that's really what it is. I'm so grateful that people trust me and they take a chance on me, and they're like, they're giving me, like, you know, their baby wrapped in you know, and that's what it is. It's their art, and you know that I don't take it lightly, man. So it's, you know, when I produce something, I really do try to make everything that I work on, like, you know, I want to make sure that it outlives, like, you know, me and my body, right? So that's kind of the mindset, is just make something that's going to be here for a long time. And that's, you know, anybody who allows me to kind of do that with them, like, that's what I want. That's all that I want. I can't necessarily say any favorites, but man, as far as playing with other bands in the scene, I mean, the homies, like Ghost Pool, Carpool, Amateur Hockey Club, Ashford, Mimic.
Between the
I'm
five
forgetting
of
a
us,
ton. Previous Love,
Between the 5 of us, there's a lot. There's probably too many to even name off.
Yeah.
Because besides just, like, you obviously work as an audio engineer and you record a lot of these bands. Alec and you both have played jazz with a bunch of other people that really aren't even, like, a part of Fernway's genre. I've filled in for people playing, like, I fill in for Grace Green a couple times. You have too.
I just think the whole Buffalo scene
We have a
in
lot.
general,
Yeah,
like,
we branch out so far that it's hard to even pinpoint, like, specifics. Like, because everybody that we've worked with has been really great. So it's tough. Yeah, like, there's so many, like, worthwhile people and good people to work with that it's tough to even, like, start naming them off. I feel like we'd be here for an hour naming them off. And like I said, it's constantly just an avenue of working with people that we've either never worked with before, and they become part of, like, the like a small family of people that are around, which then, like, it grows into just a bigger thing. Like, you see bands that we've worked with a lot, they start working with each other, and then they branch out, and you see it travel around the scene and into different things that aren't even really, like, Fernway at all. Like, I know Brett does a lot of hardcore shows, which is, like, I'm not really, I don't ever listen to that. So,
well, you
like,
realize how connected.
he connects us to that,
Yeah.
and like I said, Alec connects us to a lot of the jazz community, as do you.
In a place like Buffalo, where it's, you know, a mid-sized city, like, the scene really more so feels like a family reunion, kind of, you know. And there's not really
Everybody's at one point probably played with each other.
Yeah, it's great.
Between the, I guess, the amount of time we've been doing it, and just with the amount of working with each other, filling in for each other, and just, like, either going to each other's shows, not even playing with each other, but, like, at some point, most of us have probably played with each other or been to each other's shows, which is really good because you don't see that a lot in some scenes.
I would say as far as Buffalo goes, I mean, like, Buffalo Ironworks is a great venue. Town Ballroom, both the Oxford stage and the backstage, great spots. Even, like, Mohawk Place, like, we sold that place out a couple times, and that's a great spot. I think as far as out of town spots, that's where it gets maybe interesting. I'm trying to think of any really cool places. So, like, the House of Independence, we just did the House of Independence in July, which is like an 800 cap room in New Jersey, right in Asbury Park, right?
5 minutes from the boardwalk.
Yeah, it's like, so that venue is sick. Like, that felt cool to play at a place like that because, like, I mean, you know.
It's like a town ballroom in another city. If that's the best way to put it, is it's that caliber of a venue in someone else's city.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, I remember the old ones. Like, gosh, I was like 13 years old playing at Extreme Wheels at a skate park
Yeah, for real.
with my
Shout
swoopy
out.
hair, and it was just it was a wild place. That's probably one of the coolest places I've ever played at. I mean, helps that I was that young doing it, but I don't think I've ever. There's no other place that was a skate park and a music venue. You had someone flying off a ramp while you had watched a band 2 feet the other direction, which that was wild. I don't know. As like a 10-year-old kid, you see people skating and like you see a band, you're like, man, that's cool.
It's literally Tony Hawk in real life, dude.
Yeah, I couldn't skate. If I got on a skateboard back then, you'd watch me fall and probably break both my legs. Like I'm uncoordinated when it comes to that, like beyond belief. Still to this day, like I can longboard, but I can't skateboard. But yeah, that venue was like where I kind of started. If that kind of, I guess, dates me a little bit, but
We just played at the Cubby Bear in Chicago. That was a pretty cool venue. It was like right next to Wrigley
I'm
Field.
terrible at I was there. I'm terrible at remembering.
You said,
things.
yeah, I was
It's
there.
been doing this for like 10 plus years. As some things start to blur, I'll be honest.
Like West Side Bowl in Youngstown, Ohio, is like it's like kind of like a divey bowling alley, but it's a vibe, and it's really they're so nice to us. They give us pizza, like, you know, they always
They
like
take care of bands. Well, that's the one thing.
we always bring a
that-
crowd too. There's always a crowd there, like.
One thing that makes places stand out is when they take care of a band well, especially if you're not from their town. And that's
Yeah.
one place specifically where like you're never paying for a drink, you're fed. I think they give you like 2 like full-size pizzas
big
per band,
pizzas, yeah.
which is like, I don't know, when you're on the road and you're tired of drinking gas station coffee.
I mean, it's a
and
50
candy
bucks. That's
bars for
50 bucks
dinner.
worth of food, man.
Yeah,
like
it's
that's
Not even the drink. They gave it like the
yeah,
entire
I mean-
band the full case of like Liquid Death drinks because they put a cooler out for the band, and like, gosh, between the 4 or 5 bands that play, they probably go through like 50 to 100 drinks a night for just the bands, which is like when you add that up, it's not cheap for them, which is it's appreciated. We played Fredonia venues a lot, like BJ's, NPSC. We played in the Commons there once. What do they call? What was the one thing we did for the radio
Rockin'
station?
in the Commons or something.
Yeah, we've done that a lot.
Yeah.
That's not really a venue, but it's a cool event that they do. They do a good job, the students there, with like keeping that scene alive. That's one place that if like you're not familiar with the Fredonia, like I'll call it the underground scene because a lot of the places are house shows, other than
Yeah,
like the bars. But
True. The Fredonia underground scene is huge. That was a huge
people that come
reason
through here.
why we had such a
Yeah.
Buffalo following and why we continue to build on it, because like the underground scene in Fredonia is just insane. Like kids just pack into a basement, like 200 kids in a house, you know, just like absolutely like vibing, and they're there for music, not to party and do, you know, they're there for like to hear a band like rock. So
Yep.
a place in Nashville called the Cobra, that was good. I mean, we're any place that like allows us to come in and do what we do and bring our show, and they treat us well, like
Yeah.
in this post-pandemic world, man, like we are so fortunate for that. So oh man, absolutely, unequivocally, especially with the release of their new album, the 1975. They're the best band ever.
I was gonna say them or the Midnight.
They're
Both.
probably the 1975 and the Midnight, I would say. And if the Midnight couldn't make it, or if they
Man,
couldn't,
I would open that show. I wouldn't even want to close it.
I would sweep the stage for
I would-
that
I
show.
would.
Like I would run and get water and coffee and.
Yeah, I mean, if I walked up and said hello and then got off the stage, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't even need to play if those two are on it with us.
Yeah. Either that or Nightly. Nightly's a good band.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean that's easy answer.
Those at Midnight in 1975, I think like
would be the
majority of
At least
our
right now.
answers. Yeah, I think right now.
Yeah.
Something like Warped Tour we'd all would have loved to have done, just because like, and it's like 100 different acts all on the road together. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to do that too.
I'll flash this like so this is the record that we've made. It's called Auto Crave, and
It's on Spotify, any place you can get music that's streamed, it's on.
yeah, and pretty much this is like the culmination of 2 years worth of work for us. So if you like alternative rock music or pop rock music, you should definitely check this out.
Yeah. And be on the lookout for more stuff, and hopefully we'll see you at a show soon.
That was Fernway. I'll have all the links down below if you'd like to check out their music. And for Music Monday, I'm Adam Duke, News 4.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.